to school with him. My mama was so scared for me to even be involved with him.
For decades, Birdman has been painted as the ultimate boss, the mastermind who built Cash Money into a powerhouse. But when you line up the stories from artist after artist, a very different picture starts to form. This isn't about one disgruntled rapper or a single bad deal. This is a pattern that stretches across generations of hip-hop, and it starts with the most painful fallout of all, Lil Wayne. Wayne wasn't just another artist. He was a child when Birdman brought him in, a kid from New Orleans who lost his father and then his stepfather. Birdman didn't just sign him. He stepped into that empty space and became a father figure. Wayne has openly said Birdman's name carried real weight in the streets long before rap money entered the picture. His own mother was scared when Wayne signed with him, and that alone tells you how serious Birdman's reputation was. Their bond looked unbreakable. Wayne called him dad, they got matching tattoos, and they moved like family. But by 2014, that entire image collapsed. Wayne accused Birdman of holding the Carter V hostage, refusing to pay advances, and trapping him in a contract he couldn't escape. Wayne went public, calling himself a prisoner and saying his creativity was locked up too. That shook the culture because Wayne was Cash Money. Things escalated fast. In January 2015, Wayne filed a $51 million lawsuit, claiming Birdman owed him millions in advances, royalties, and Young Money profits. He accused Birdman of misusing money from a $100 million deal with Universal and funneling it to cover his own debt. This wasn't rumor, this was court paperwork.
You know, that name way before there was rap, before there was a Cash Money record, that name held weight.
Right.
You know, my mama went to school with him.
Right.
My mama was so scared for me to even be involved with him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? All she would say was like, boy, that boy was 14 with $1 million. Like, ain't nobody, I don't know how you got it. That was 14, I don't know. She was scared.
Then things got dark. In April 2015, Wayne's tour bus was shot up in Atlanta. Nobody was hurt, but phone records tied the incident to a Young Thug affiliate. No charges were ever brought against Birdman, but the timing made the situation feel dangerous. At the same time, people whispered that Birdman was trying to replace Wayne with Thug, especially after Thug teased a project called Carter 6. Wayne eventually got free in 2018, received a massive settlement, dropped the Carter 5, and publicly reconciled with Birdman. They hugged on stage, smiled for photos, and called it family again. But that scar never really disappeared, and Wayne wasn't the first. Juvenile walked away from a quadruple platinum run, saying the contracts were so bad he wouldn't see royalties for years. He sued Cash Money and accused the label of using criminal lawyers for music deals. BG said he never got paid for dozens of records that helped define an era. Turk claimed he got nothing for nearly 80 songs and felt completely ignored when he came home from prison. Manny Fresh, the man who made the Cash Money sound, left over money disputes and called it homeboy business gone wrong. He said when friends handle business without real knowledge, artists get hurt. Even after selling millions, he was still chasing royalties. Gilly the Kid says he got promised money that never came. And even though Birdman denies everything, the bitterness never faded. Rick Ross publicly turned on Birdman over how Wayne was treated. Pusha T has taken shots for over 20 years over unpaid production and layered contracts. Tyga accused the label of holding his album hostage and later sued over millions in royalties. And then came NBA Youngboy. Birdman called him the future, a billion-dollar talent just like he once did with Wayne. They dropped from the bayou, talked family, talked loyalty. But in 2024, Youngboy dropped Tears of War and said straight up that Stunner never loved me. He admitted he should have listened when Wayne warned him. Even though they later reunited, that cycle was already exposed. What makes all of this hit harder is that the Birdman situation doesn't just affect one era of artists. It stretches across decades, and every generation seems to walk into the same cycle, thinking it'll be different this time. The promises change, the faces change, but the outcome keeps looking familiar. Take Juvenile, for example. Before Lil Wayne's lawsuit ever made headlines, Juvenile had already shown the cracks in the Cash Money Foundation. This wasn't some underground artist struggling to break through. This was a superstar who helped push the label into the mainstream. Juvenile's 400 Degrees wasn't just successful, it was a cultural moment. Quadruple platinum, songs like Ha and Back That Ass Up became global anthems. Then he followed it up with multiple platinum albums. That run alone helped solidify Cash Money's distribution deal with Universal. But despite all that success, Juvenile said the money wasn't right. He claimed the contracts were so poorly structured that royalty payments would take years to even show up. According to him, the label used criminal attorneys for entertainment deals, and filings were handled so badly that artists were getting beat legally without even realizing it. That's not about ego, that's business. Juvenile eventually sued Cash Money for unpaid royalties, and while the settlement details were never fully transparent, he made it clear the relationship was damaged beyond repair. Birdman fired back publicly, calling Juvenile a failure and attacking his character. What started as a business dispute turned personal fast. Then there's BG. BG was signed as a kid too, just like Wayne. He helped define the entire Cash Money identity. Bling Bling didn't just change slang, it changed rap culture. Albums like Chopper City and The Ghetto helped secure that massive Universal deal, but BG said he never saw royalties for his early work. He claimed he got nothing for dozens of records that generated millions. When he, Juvenile, and Turk left in the early 2000s, it was over the same thing, money and accounting. BG went to prison for over a decade, and during that time, the resentment grew. He felt abandoned by the label that benefited from his work.
And I know Birdman. I know him.
Man, Birdman raised me, bro. You heard me? You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
Like, you know, that's like a father figure to me. You know what I'm saying? Him and Slim. You know what I mean? I got the utmost love for him. I love that. Respect for him.
When he finally came home in 2023, Birdman welcomed him with a chain and cash, but that didn't erase the past. BG even dissed Cash Money in a song after his release. And while Birdman brushed it off publicly, that pain was real. Years of silence don't disappear just because a reunion photo gets posted. And then there's Turk. Turk has been the most vocal and arguably the most unresolved case of all. He said he never got paid for around 80 records, 0 royalties. He spent nearly a decade locked up, and when he came home, there was no welcome, no chain, no acknowledgement. That difference hit him hard. When BG came home to applause and gifts, while Turk came home to silence, it confirmed what Turk had been feeling for years. He sued Cash Money, settled for what he called severance, and walked away without publishing rights. Even reunion attempts went left. Pay disputes, canceled tours, lawsuits between artists and promoters, public insults from Birdman on stage, Turk watching from home while his former group performed without him. That's not closure. That's unresolved tension playing out in public. And what ties all these stories together isn't jealousy or bitterness, it's consistency. The same complaints, the same timeline, the same emotional arc. Artists give everything early. The label grows, the money gets complicated, questions get ignored, then relationships fracture. Now let's talk about Manny Fresh, because without Manny, there is no Cash Money sound, period. This man wasn't just making beats, he was shaping an entire era of hip-hop. That bounce-heavy, bass-driven Louisiana sound that took over the late 90s and early 2000s, that was Manny's brain at work. Back that ass up, Still Fly, Go DJ, Bling Bling. Those records didn't just chart, they defined a generation. Manny joined Cash Money in the early 90s and became the sonic architect of the label.
So you expect me to take a pay cut in the next city on top of taking a loss? You feel me? That I ain't getting none of my back end? Nah, I need all my money when we go to Cleveland. You feel me? Once I said that, I thought everything was cool, understood, but they had a cake bake for me, I guess. That's what they think. 4 o'clock in the morning, they sent my manager an email saying that I'm terminated. You know, that I was a security threat.
Was this the first time you were hearing about a security
threat?
Yeah,
because where was I a security threat before when you offered me to take less of my money?
On top of that, he was half of the big timers with Birdman, dropping Hood Rich, a platinum album that made them both household names. At first, Manny spoke positively about Cash Money. He praised the independent blueprint. He talked about ownership and freedom. But behind the scenes, the numbers weren't lining up. Manny said he was paid per beat, but when he looked at the label's lifestyle versus what he was receiving, something felt off. Lavish spending, luxury cars, jewelry everywhere. But somehow the accounting didn't reflect the success Manny knew he helped create. That's when the cracks formed. By 2005, Manny Fresh was gone. He cited financial disputes and creative limitations. He wanted to explore rock, gospel, and other sounds. But more importantly, he didn't feel properly compensated for the music that built the Cash Money empire. Manny later spoke openly about what he called homeboy business. Friends handling contracts, family acting as managers and lawyers. No real separation between loyalty and accountability. He said straight up, "Your friend can't be your lawyer. And if a company doesn't want you to have independent advisors, that's a red flag." Birdman didn't take Manny's exit lightly. In interviews, he questioned Manny's loyalty and downplayed his importance. Manny sued Cash Money, settled quietly, and walked away with some of his masters. But even years later, he said royalties were still an issue. Then there's Gilly the Kid. This one's messy and personal. Gilly has claimed for years that he helped shape Lil Wayne's early flow and contributed creatively behind the scenes. Cash Money and Wayne have denied this every time. Gilly says he was promised money, publishing, and opportunity, and instead got trapped in bad deals. He left the label in the early 2000s over money disputes. From there, the beef simmered through DVDs, interviews, and diss tracks. Wayne fired shots on Problem Solver. Gilly fired back harder, accusing Cash Money of fake behavior and exploitation. Birdman has always dismissed Gilly's claims, saying he never made a dollar off him and that Gilly never wrote a single bar for Wayne. But even if you ignore the ghostwriting angle, the business complaints sound familiar. Promises, confusion, money disputes.
And so Ace said one thing he respects about Birdman is the hustle, and that's one thing everybody has got to respect about Birdman. Can't nobody say they out-hustled Birdman from the very start. Hey, we know what he allegedly did back in his teens and stuff like that. He was outside in them streets, all of that stuff. Been documented and confirmed, you feel me? Now, fast forward, he built Cash Money from the ground up with his brother, had a bunch of local artists and made them national artists. He took those national artists and made them global superstars. We're talking about Wayne, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Juvenile, BG, Turk, the Hot Boys. Manny Fresh made him one of the greatest producers of all time.
What's wild is that even Gilly, after all that smoke, still admits Birdman is a hustler. He said he's at a point in life where legacy and family matter more than old beef. That says a lot. Now let's bring in Pusha T. This beef stretches back over 20 years. It started when Birdman allegedly didn't properly pay the Neptunes for production work on What Happened to That Boy. Pharrell reportedly refused to work with Cash Money after that. Since Pusha T is Pharrell's right-hand man, that tension became personal. Then Wayne started wearing Bape, a brand closely tied to Clips and Pharrell, which only added fuel to the fire. By 2012, Pusha dropped Exodus 23:1 and openly criticized Cash Money's layered contract system. You signed to one that signed to another that signed to three. That line hit the industry like a brick. Wayne fired back. The internet went crazy. And even in 2025, Pusha T is still throwing shots. That kind of longevity doesn't come from nothing. Now let's talk about Rick Ross, because this situation hit him on a different level. Ross wasn't just some outsider throwing shots for attention. He genuinely respected Birdman at one point, looked up to him as a blueprint for Southern success. Boss energy, independence, power. Birdman represented all of that. They were close enough to work on a joint project together. That H mixtape wasn't random. It came from mutual respect and real creative chemistry. Ross even defended Birdman publicly for years. But everything shifted once Ross saw how Lil Wayne was being treated. Wayne wasn't just another artist. Wayne was the engine, the face, the reason Cash Money was still relevant in the 2010s. Watching Wayne fight publicly for his own album, his own money, and his own freedom didn't sit right with Ross at all. Ross made that clear in interviews. He said straight up, Birdman was supposed to be in the building fighting for Wayne, not letting him get stuck in legal limbo. That disappointment turned into open criticism. By 2015, Ross was already sending subliminal shots on Color Money. Then came social media jabs, especially after Birdman's infamous Breakfast Club rant where he told Charlemagne to put respect on his name. Ross responded by sending roses to the radio station. Pure disrespect with a smile. But the real turning point came in 2017. Ross dropped Idols Become Rivals, and it wasn't subtle. Over a soulful sample, Ross aired out everything he felt. The admiration, the betrayal, the disappointment. He accused Birdman of being in artists' pockets and called out the money situation directly. "I pray you find the kindness in your heart for Wayne." That line hit hard. That wasn't rap beef. That was moral judgment. Ross doubled down in interviews, explaining that watching Wayne get treated like that changed how he saw Birdman forever. He said there's nothing he hates more than people not doing what they're supposed to do when money and loyalty are involved. Birdman brushed it off, saying he only cared about numbers and success. But Ross wasn't arguing numbers. He was arguing principle. Then there's Tyga. Tyga signed to Young Money in 2008 and became a major hitmaker. Rack City went 4 times platinum. He had multiple successful albums. But behind the scenes, Tyga said the money wasn't matching the success. By 2014, Tyga was publicly saying his album was being held hostage. Sound familiar? He tweeted that his project was done, but label politics were blocking its release. That complaint landed right in the middle of Wayne's battle over the Carter 5. Multiple artists, same time, same problem. Tyga eventually left and released the Gold album independently. Later, he claimed he was owed between $10 to $15 million in royalties. He even said he held off on suing because he wanted Wayne's situation resolved first. When Tyga finally sued in 2018, Birdman flipped the narrative. Cash Money claimed Tyga actually owed them money due to unrecouped advances. That case quietly disappeared without a settlement, leaving more questions than answers. And finally, we get to NBA YoungBoy. This one feels like history repeating itself in real time. Birdman took YoungBoy under his wing around 2018, publicly praised him, called him the biggest rapper alive, compared him to Wayne. They dropped from the bayou together. Everything looked solid, but Wayne had already warned YoungBoy in his lyrics, told him to watch out for old heads. In 2024, YoungBoy dropped Tears of War, and for the first time, he openly questioned Birdman's love and loyalty. That wasn't a diss. That was heartbreak, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. When you step back and really look at everything, it becomes impossible to treat these situations as isolated incidents. This isn't one angry artist. This isn't one bad contract. This is a decades-long pattern that keeps resurfacing across different generations of hip-hop. Lil Wayne, Juvenile, BG, Turk, Manny Fresh, Gilly the Kid, Pusha T, Rick Ross, Tyga, NBA YoungBoy. That's not a random list. That's a timeline. Different eras, different sounds, same complaints. The pattern is always similar. Early trust, heavy loyalty, big promises, massive success. Then confusion around money, delayed albums, missing royalties, artists feeling trapped. Then public fallout, sometimes lawsuits, sometimes reconciliation. But the original questions never fully disappear. Birdman has always leaned on numbers, platinum plaques, billion-dollar deals, chart success. And to be fair, Cash Money helped change the business. They showed artists how to go independent, how to demand better deals, how to build leverage. But innovation doesn't cancel accountability, and success doesn't erase responsibility. What makes this complicated is that many artists still respect Birdman's hustle, even the ones who've clashed with him. That's the part that keeps the cycle alive. Respect mixed with resentment, gratitude mixed with distrust. For younger artists, especially those coming from unstable backgrounds, that father figure role hits deep. When someone offers guidance, protection, and belief at a vulnerable time, it creates emotional loyalty. And emotional loyalty can override business instincts. That's what makes these situations hurt more than typical label disputes. This isn't just contracts and percentages. This is about trust, about feeling like family, about believing someone has your back when things get ugly. When that belief cracks, it doesn't just affect business, it affects identity. And that's why so many of these artists describe the fallout in emotional terms. Prison, betrayal, manipulation, not just money. The reconciliations don't erase that. They only show how complicated these relationships really are. People can move forward while still carrying unresolved feelings. Public unity doesn't always mean private peace. Birdman has outlasted every storm. He's seen lawsuits come and go, beef rise and cool off, artists leave and return. That endurance is part of his power. But endurance alone doesn't rewrite history. The stories are still there. The interviews, the tweets, the court filings, the lyrics, they stack up over time. And when too many voices start telling versions of the same experience, the conversation shifts from coincidence to pattern. That doesn't automatically make one person a villain and everyone else a victim. Life isn't that simple, but it does raise real questions about how power works in the music industry. Who controls information? Who controls money? Who controls timing? Who benefits from confusion? And who pays the emotional cost when things fall apart? The reason these stories keep resurfacing is because the industry hasn't fixed the system that allows them to happen. Young artists are still signing deals they don't fully understand, still trusting mentors without independent protection, still confusing loyalty with silence. NBA YoungBoy's situation shows that even now, with more access and awareness, the same traps exist. The cycle didn't disappear, it just evolved. At the end of the day, this isn't about canceling anyone. It's about learning, about artists protecting themselves, about separating love from leverage, and understanding that family energy and business power don't always mix cleanly. Birdman's legacy will always be complex, both influential and controversial, both visionary and disputed. And that complexity is exactly why these stories won't fade. Because the culture remembers, and the culture keeps asking questions. Even when the music keeps playing,